Hi, I'm Chelsea Feldman. I'm from Microsoft, and I work on our new audience response technology called the Bing Pulse. So some of you might have already been introduced to this application earlier in the day, but today we're trying to add a new twist onto the big data panel, and we're inviting all of you in the audience to join the conversation. So what you'll do is you'll take out your smartphone, tablet, PC, any device, and open your browser and go to pulse.bing.com/dh. We'll have the URL up here for your reference. And you're going to vote in real time on if you agree or disagree with what the panel's saying. We're also going to ask you a couple of poll questions that you can voice in on throughout the session about big data and healthcare. So you'll see the results in real time up on the screen, and we look forward to hearing your opinions.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Chelsea. So, she already introduced it. Is data your new doc is the next section. So I want to introduce you to the panel. They can come on up. And Missy Krasner is going to be leading this next session. She is the Managing Director of Healthcare and Life Sciences at Box. And I didn't ask you what your New Year's resolution is. What's your do you have a New Year's? Putting you on the spot. The mic.
I'm loud enough to say that the New Year's resolution is to try to lose all the weight I just gained in eating all the food that you just served us. Trying to get my $20 back for what I just paid.
Totally.
All right, I think we're on. Is Bettina around from Humetrix? We seem to have lost her. If she's here, come up to the stage. Love to get her. She's getting a mic. Fantastic. Well, we'll get started while we're getting up here. How's everybody doing? Come on, it's after lunch. Everybody excited? All right. So I'm Missy Krasner, and I'm your fun moderator for this particular panel. My background is that I did a little time in government at the first office of the National Coordinator for Health IT with Dr. David Brailer. After that, I went to Google, and I was the first group at Google to do healthcare, so I helped build Google Health, which was the first version of their online medical health records. So I have a lot of sort of scars around sort of data flowing, user-generated data, and data trying to connect. Take a seat. So fun times, and I'm definitely going to be the spoiler and the cynic up here. So sorry, guys. Then I went into venture. I spent a couple years in venture at Morgan Thaler Ventures, invested in Doximity, Practice Fusion, HealthLoop, and many other companies. And now I'm at Box, and I'm running the healthcare and life sciences vertical there. So Box is all about HIPAA-compliant file sharing, and it's sort of a very elegant and simple way to solve some of our interoperability challenges. So that is me. I'd love for my esteemed panelists to each introduce themselves, talk a little bit about what your company does, and the specific pain point that it's solving in the industry. You want to go first?
Sure. I may take your microphone.
I think you're good.
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Bettina Experton. I'm the founder and CEO of Humetrix. I'm a physician. And Humetrix is driven by one goal, which is to address the critical healthcare issues we have all around the world, in this country and all around the world, which is providing critical information in the hands of both patients and physicians so the right care is rendered at the right time and at the right price. So we develop mobile apps which put all your healthcare information in your own hands on your powerful computer, which is a smartphone. And we have an app, iBlue Button, available on the App Store and Google Play, which put all your medical records, aggregate them, and makes that data actionable by you, the patient, so you can share that information at the point of care with your physician, whether in a telemedicine scenario or when you visit a doctor in the emergency room or for routine care. That was iBlue Button. Then we have an app which addresses the critical issues of emergency care, so that whether it is a paramedic or it is an emergency room doctor, we need to have immediate access to that critical information to save your life. We have an app to do that for you, to help you and help those caregivers take care of you and alert your loved one, and that's called SOSQR. And then we are launching here at CES the first of a series of mobile apps to put all that information into context, to manage that chronic condition you have and millions of us may suffer from. And that first app of a series of is called Tensio, and it's to manage your hypertension, putting all that information into context. And we capitalize on those new platforms for iOS device Health Kit, where all that data coming from your various monitoring device is put in context with your medical record information and guide you how to best manage that chronic condition over time and best communicate with your physician if a treatment works or doesn't work, and guide also your physician in rendering that right care.
That's great. So clearly you can see some of the pain points that Bettina's company is trying to solve, specifically the aggregation of medical records in disparate places, being able to share your medical information with not only your family and caregivers, but also your physicians and your physician circle, and then also to be able to take all of that data and make it actionable and insightful, particularly if you're managing a chronic disease. So that's excellent, and I have lots to say about that because that was a little bit of what Google Health was trying to do many years ago, and Bettina has really extended that arc. Why don't you tell us what you're up to?
Sure. My name is Marco Peluso. I'm CEO of Qardio. We look to develop products that are medical devices but don't look like medical devices and people actually like to use. It's hard to fix healthcare if you don't have enough data coming from patients, and if patients and consumer and the line there is blurring, getting more and more blurred, don't feel like continuing to use these products for a long period of time. So we work hard with our products to create solutions that people enjoy using for their normal life and feel comfortable using throughout their normal day. So we have 3 consumer products. One is called Qardio Arm. It's a wearable blood pressure monitor. One is called Qardio Base, and it's one of the products that we're launching this year at CES. It is a body weight scale. And the third one is called Qardio Core. This year's won 2 CES Innovation Awards, and it's a wearable EKG monitor that doesn't require patches and gels to do EKG, so it's something you can easily use every day. And also we're launching at CES another product that is more for the doctor side of the equation. It's called Qardio MD, and is a dashboard that enables doctors and providers to actually aggregate data from all the Qardio users, so they can cluster patients and prioritize patients, and so they can focus on patients that have more serious conditions, and for those that don't need immediate attention, maybe you can postpone the routine checkup to some later time. So it's more convenient for the patient and is more efficient for the doctor.
That's fantastic. And later on, I want to actually have a little bit of a discussion on sort of consumer devices that may need some kind of FDA approval, and I'd love to drill in on that.
Sure.
So would you like to tell us what
I
you
would
guys are
love
up
to. My name is Darren Hay. I'm the Vice President, Sales and Strategic Partnerships for Ideal Life. You may have noticed Jason Goldberg up on the board. I'm not Jason Goldberg. I'm 10 years older and 60 pounds heavier. The Ideal Life is a remote patient monitoring company that we provide service globally. We provide basically end-to-end solutions from the biometric devices, similar to what Marco does, flowing the information through the cloud to the providers, allowing providers to make informed clinical decisions to basically drive better healthcare and better outcomes. One of the, I guess apart from just the devices and the software and all that great stuff, one of the key things that we're very interested in, this is why I think this is a very sort of relevant topic for us anyway, is getting off the island, getting the information out of the silos, getting the information back and integrating it back into the broader healthcare continuum. One of our big pushes and one of our big sort of successes has been getting data to seamlessly integrate with the big EMRs, with the Epics and the Cerners and the Allscripts and the Athenas. And so, we've been very active, not just on creating devices, creating technology to take the biometric readings, but really to allow you to sort of have this sort of wraparound experience where now it's part of the ecosystem, it's part of the healthcare continuum, that if you go to the doctor, you're just taking your readings from home, it's a transaction between you and your provider, but you're also going to go to the hospital, you're going to go to the broader system at some point. It's got to be connected, it's got to be integrated, and that's really been our big push in the last little while.
That's great. Just let me quickly clarify for the audience. Who do you sell to and who do you make money from? So Bettina, who do you sell to?
So we sell directly to consumers. Again, I mentioned that our apps are available for download from the app stores. And I think at this time of really transforming healthcare through technology, if we want to make a difference, I'm talking about a physician at the helm of this company, we have to address consumer needs and sell directly to consumers. And those new technology and new tool, and again, those new device and the consumer electronic space and industry is a big enabler. We, of course, sell as well to enterprise, and when about a third of healthcare around the world, but in the US, is paid by, for instance, in the US, by the federal government is also in the business of making more use of that healthcare investment. So we do sell to government, state Medicaid program. We have our app, iBlue Button, which serves the Medicare population, veterans, people covered by TRICARE, so millions of individuals. Government agency abroad in Europe are also about to deploy our technology. Healthcare systems make use of our technology to basically solve their real problem of accessing critical information at the right time and communicating with their patients.
Got it. So you're direct to consumer. Enterprise would be like hospitals, right? And then government.
And then government. And then you have also pharma, which is interested in the technology we have in terms of post-market surveillance. So a broad area of enterprise clients.
Okay, I want to come back to that business model. That's interesting. Who do you guys sell to?
So our products are available in 37 countries around the world, and so what we do in each country is slightly different depending on the local market. But our offering really, in terms of value proposition, really articulates across similar range of counterparties, starting definitely from the consumer that is at the base. So if you cannot engage the consumer with a product that he or she is willing to use every day, then it's really going to be hard imposing onto him or her to really then start being part of this better way of handling health data and improving personal health. But definitely more and more there is a growing attention from the pharmaceutical side as well as from large corporates into using data, health data to increase efficiencies.
But can a consumer directly buy your product?
Absolutely. So our products are available in the consumer electronic stores, in pharmacies.
Got it. Great. But you're also selling through the enterprise channel as well.
Yes.
Got it. Interesting.
So I would love to say it's fully consumer today. I mean, realistically, the business isn't there yet. Our major markets, in realizing the consumer market's coming, and it's coming slowly, but it's coming. Our major markets are clearly government, health plans, ACOs, IDNs, basically anywhere we have a risk-bearing entity that has, it's enterprise, is risk-bearing, it's got risk for lives, it's got risk for cost. That's really our market. We start looking how do you sort of aggregate, how do you find a solution that can really drive down the cost of chronic disease. Because cost of chronic disease for COPD, CHF, diabetes, that's really our sweet spot. And being able to being able to keep people out of the hospital, being able to keep people out of the system through preventing readmissions and bed days and ultimately saving the cost, that's a really important thing to those organizations. So we're more enterprise focused, I think, right now. I mean, we definitely see the consumer end of it. We're partnered with ADT, and ADT is a very strong consumer focus, obviously. And I think that will continue to drive our model towards the consumer end. So hence the CES.
Yeah, I mean, how many people in the audience are investors? Raise your hand. I literally see one hand. Is that true? Oh yeah, 2 hands? Okay. There were some folks here earlier as well that are investors, and I think also spending a little time on the investing side. I think one of the things that's so interesting is you see the burgeoning sort of explosion of digital health here at CES. I mean, if you guys have been coming to CES for the last 5 or 6 years, you're definitely going to see a massive arc of lots and lots of new companies coming here, particularly even international companies. So I think one of the things here in the US that we're still struggling with is trying to figure out how to get a multi-channel business model. Your situation is tight because you've really targeted the shared risk models. Yep. And I think one of the pain points at Google and I think several other companies like Microsoft and Intel have experienced is you need to engage the consumer, right? So it's a B2B2C play eventually, but there are all these perverse incentives, so no one knows who's paying for the product. And if you've got really great sort of brain bands, or you've got sort of a product off the shelf that you can buy at a retail pharmacy, and you're going to get reimbursed for it, or you're going to get some kind of incentive for showing that your data is making a difference, then as a consumer you're more interested in doing that. So I would contend that we're still pretty backwards when it comes to aligning incentives.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm just wondering if any of you have a much more sort of optimistic view.
I actually disagree. I think that definitely the environment is very complex. There are many counterparties, many actors. But I actually think that the interests are quite aligned. I think everybody wants to have a more efficient, more effective healthcare, wants to save money, wants to have an easier way for people to be more involved into managing their own personal health. So I think that actually we're making a great progress in terms of getting interests aligned in that front.
And I totally agree, and I think we are living a perfect healthy storm here, where you have the conversion of enabling technology, which is pervasive, which is ubiquitous. 70% of Americans are using this. Healthcare remain fragmented. We finally came on the provider side to the digital age, so we are not anymore at the age of paper record, but digital record, but there is no data flow between providers, mainly because of business barriers. So this device in the hands of patient becomes a connector between those various sources of data to collate that information to render the right care at the right price. And the cost of healthcare is not diminishing. The out-of-pocket cost is still extremely high. When you looked at government, 1/3 of healthcare expenditure on the federal level is on the federal side. For state medical program, it's about 1/3 of their budget. So I think everyone is aligned from the consumer side who demand information at their fingertip. For them, it's an issue of patient safety. There are still today 400,000 Americans who die from medical errors. And for 20% of those deaths are attributed to the fact that the information a physician needs to render the right diagnosis and apply the right treatment is not there. Given the lack of communication between provider systems, IT-wise, the most obvious and compelling actor into that, to make that work, is a patient. And the patient armed with this powerful computer, where the record can be stored there, where the sophisticated algorithms, the clinical guideline can be in the hands of that very patient. That patient can come now to that physician and say, this is my list of medication. By the way, this new drug may interact with my blood pressure treatment, and so forth. So I think from all perspectives, cost, patient safety, consumer involvement in their own life with new technology, we are at the time where we can see transforming healthcare with technology in an incredible way.
I mean, all of these themes have been around for a while. We know that we want consumers to be more activated and more empowered, and medical errors have been around for a long time, and we know all of that. So I guess what I'm really looking for is a tight sort of business model. And I know you guys, and you guys have been around for a long time. You've been having a lot of success with that.
Yeah, we've been doing it for 13 years now, and full disclosure, I came from a big telco, TELUS, who used Microsoft Health Vault in the past, and we.
Get off the stage.
I know, I'm sorry, I know. But so I've seen this for a while, and really there's our business model. I mean, the consumer model is a very strong model, and you really want to see it succeed, and that's why we're doing a lot of stuff in the space, and we're moving down that path. I think the whole consumer empowerment thing is huge with respect to just really sort of driving scale, driving adoption, and really sort of making this big. Our reality is that based on the alignment of incentives currently, financial incentives, there's money for chronic disease right now. People treat sickness and they say, okay, the top 5% cost 50% of the healthcare cost. So there's a very strong case to say, let's go after that. Let's talk, how do we deal with that? How do we look at heart failure? How do we look at COPD and diabetes? How do we manage the ones that are really driving the cost in the system? As you move beyond that, though, I mean, there's a fantastic evolution. I mean, I look at this, and I think, as you move from that part that's treating the sick to the well and treating the well or managing the well. I mean, my 8-year-old son, I got the little Fitbit here that sends information through the Ideal Life portal into the cloud. It goes to the dock, and it's all great. My 8-year-old son is crazy for this stuff. Like, he's got his little Fitbit charge on. I know he's supposed to be 13 because he can't actually register, and it's all legal stuff. But my 8-year-old son is the next generation of this stuff. You look at him and say, well, he's not worried about the chronic disease end of it. He's worried about, this is cool. How many steps can I get? What's my heart rate? How can I actually sort of track this stuff? So I mean, I think there's a real huge opportunity on the consumer side, and that whole patient empowerment piece is huge. But the incentives are going to have to follow to drive that.
Right.
And the incentives right now for us are on the other side. So we got to sort of walk both sides of the line.
Yeah.
Just to, it's a business thing. We're in business to treat people, to do really good stuff, and to make some money.
Yeah.
I don't think it's only about the economic incentive. I mean, the way, for example, we think about the environment is if you look at the population as a pyramid, then at the top of the pyramid you have people that have serious medical conditions that affect seriously their lifestyle. So that's kind of the typical target for the medical devices industry. And then at the bottom of the pyramid there is a very large base of healthy people that can track their fitness with fitness trackers. And so those guys are well served, the top guys are well served, but then there is a big slice of the pyramid in the middle of people that have a medical condition that does not affect their life, so they can aspire to have a normal lifestyle, and those guys are not well covered. And so, for example, in our case with Qardio, that's exactly what we're focusing on.
And Missy, I would say even if medical errors have been there for a long time and persist, I think the digital queue was not there even 5 years ago.
That's a very good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And you contributed to that digital queue. We needed open data. We needed to have, for patients who come, on average 20% of Americans take 5 medications in a given year, 20%. 70% are on 1 drug and 50% are on 2 drugs. When you have 5 minutes to deal with your doctor, emergency or not, can you recall those 2 drugs you are on or 5 drugs you are on? Now you have a legal right, thanks to the work of the ONC and HHS, you have a legal right to access your medical information. That information is digital, thanks to the investment from the HITECH Act. 90% of hospitals and about 80% of docs are using electronic medical record, and they have the tool and they have the standards to push information to their patients. For patients to call or pull that information, all that can be captured here.
Well, let's actually drill in on
that.
That's a very good point. So I think, we've all sort of talked a little bit about sort of this state of perverse incentives or aligning trends in the industry that are pushing consumers to be more activated. Let's talk a little bit about the data itself and where we are on connectivity, interoperability, data federation, and being able to mine this data. So, you're all to some degree, you two are specifically working with a connected device, and you're grabbing the data, from all these disparate systems and sticking it into a mobile app, and then being able to do all kinds of cool things with algorithms to make it clinically insightful. I still contend, and if there were more investors in the room or even entrepreneurs in the room, it's a really interesting time because we've gone from products to platforms, and now we've got sort of 3 major dominant platforms, Google, Samsung, and Apple, and now everybody can build apps against that, or there might even be another platform that emerges somewhere soon. So the question to all of you in the audience as well as to the panelists, and I think we need to open it up to questions in just a minute after this line is, we're at the early stage of platforms, and as such, there's lots of really cool apps out there or wearables or devices that can collect user-generated data, right, from the body, whether it's the Internet of Things, a smart home, and whatever you're doing in your life, smart car. But it's still very, very disparate from the clinical structured data that's captured in these enterprise systems, whether it's EHRs or pop health or data warehousing. And I don't think that we've gotten to a point where we're marrying that yet, even though HealthKit has announced a very sort of one-way directional integration with Epic. So I kind of wanted to start with you first because you've got a lot of experience with your remote monitoring today, and you mentioned that you're integrated with some EHRs.
Yeah, so we started off sort of where everybody else started off. We started off with having a whole bunch of, if you would have gone back 10 years ago, everyone was talking about this cool device. This is the stuff I have. You can do this biometric stuff. You can do your blood pressure, do your pulsing, do your weight, and do Bluetooth, and it's fantastic. I mean, there's a commoditization of those products, though. So you start looking and say, well, it's not really the products, it's the data that is generated that allows you to take action for that patient. So when you start looking at the connection of me as a patient to you as the doctor, that's fantastic. It allows you to sort of manage that relationship one-to-one. But it's how do you get it back in? And we struggled for a long time, like everybody else, trying to figure out how do you sort of present it in a way that the EHRs, the MRs want to see it so that it's usable on their end and it's usable, it is a bidirectional push and a pull. So I'm not the tech guy, so I'm not going to go into the details in the tech, but that was a huge thing, a huge step forward for us is being able to recognize it has nothing to do with the devices now. I mean, the devices are great. We've got our devices. We've got, I see Withings on the wall, we have Withings scales integrated, we've got Fitbit integrated. I mean, the integration of getting the data in is not the problem. It's managing it and putting it in the system in a usable manner. So we've spent a lot of time and a lot of effort with some real smart people putting together a way to sort of push and pull bidirectionally from those EMRs so that we're now in a position that it allows you to really manage the patient, not just manage the encounter.
Missy, I would say that technology is ready. The president of Samsung this morning was saying, we are at a stage right now. Technology is always going to evolve, right? And it's always going to get better, but we should not chase for the best technology and the perfect technology to take action. Again, there are people who die every day. If 400,000 people die, 10 times that numbers of people are injured in a severe way. And that medical errors, you want to prevent it because you have the tool to prevent it. So there are standards out there which permit two-way communication between this from the patient side and an EMR. And our apps are standard-based, applying all the standards to permit that two-way communication.
You're doing that. You guys are using Direct, and
We are using Direct, we are using Blue Button, we are using cross-platform mobile-to-mobile communications that applied for telemedicine. This is a bump, but it's a Humetrix bump in a very secure way. So the technology is ready, and as a former public health officer in California, I don't want to wait to apply treatment. We have an epidemic still of injured and people who should not die, who can be saved today. So there is still this urgency to act. And this is a powerful computer, and dealing with privacy issue, you don't need to have algorithm run in a cloud. This can compute that data, aggregate, parse, display, make sense of it, and give you that algorithm for you, the patient, or you, the doctor, to take action.
Yeah, you guys are a great example of an interoperability model that's pretty simple because you've been taking advantage of the standards. Talk a little bit about what you guys are doing, what you're thinking about with interoperability.
So we are actually integrating with EHR systems, and also Qardio arm is designed, Qardio MD is designed, our platform for doctors is designed to work alongside EHR systems. What I want to say, going back to the original formula of the question, is that I think technology, there are technologies available now that weren't available maybe 10 years ago that are actually making a lot easier and simpler to do this integration, to make data flow and to make it available, make the data available also for analytical purposes, right? And so you really can drive the data a lot further, and you can extract a lot more value from this data.
I mean, anybody in the audience have a question before I pose sort of another one, or a disagreement or a concern that you want to say? I know Matt Holt is in the back. He always has something very informative to say. Anybody? Okay, so we'll keep going. I think one of the things that I experienced, and you guys have heard me say this a couple times over again, is I think we're still at the early stages where even if you're trying to push data back from a device or from a user-generated bump from a physician, or just having data from a whole bunch of different systems that you've put into your app, there still seems to be a place where the EHRs are quarantining the data, or they don't necessarily have the fields developed to be able to take your data in, and they stage it, or they sort of, Epic's really famous for sort of having this blob objects database, and so they can sort of just append it to the file. But we're not really at a place yet where all of the devices and the sort of wearables out there that are generating this kind of data, it's not fielded yet in a structured way back into the EHR.
So Missy, I would say that I think to the contrary. The industry has moved to an offering platform which are extremely powerful. So when you look at HealthKit, so our new application Tensio doesn't need to connect to every single monitoring device. We just pull the data from HealthKit. Same thing with the Samsung S Health platform. And when you see the Epic and the Cerner, and the Allscripts, I believe, but all those big MR companies pulling HealthKit data
into the form of a CCD?
They take the raw data. They take the raw data, and it arrives directly from again, HealthKit is local, it's on your phone, it's your private information, it's only come from that patient data set on their device, on their phone, which goes to that provider system running an Epic or a Cerner. And that data come under the control of that individual, come through their mobile app connected to that EMR. So that connectivity is there. We
So
take
you're
advantage
saying
of it.
the platforms are enhancing that, particularly if you look at the health kit model. So that's
Absolutely.
making it easier. Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, in our case, for us, integration is with other platforms is crucial. You know, Qardio Arm was the first medical device with integration with HealthKit available on the App Store. We have now set up for API integration that it's so easy. We have some partners getting integration up and running in 2 days. So with bi-directional integration for data. So I think really the technologies are there. Lots of people are more and more seeing the value of this integration, and I think we kind of turned the point in terms of.
Are you guys integrated with HealthKit yet? No. But I mean, you've got so many integrations with all the other devices out there, whether it's a Fitbit or a White.
Again, we focused on things that kind of are in the sweet spot of our business, and the sweet spot of our business is that sort of enterprise at-risk model. So that's been our push. I mean, as we move down the consumer road, we sort of get, obviously, I know we were looking for controversy before. We were talking about having sort of some debate and discussion. I think we're all agreeing. I think it's the fact the platform is there creates a real good opportunity.
You know, and you see it may be useful for everyone to relate to what does that mean for any one of us here as patient consumer. When you say we are integrated with HealthKit, what does that mean? That means that when someone uses my Tensio app, okay, they don't have to enter data. They don't have to think that they use any kind of monitoring device which talk to HealthKit. That from Tensio, that average blood pressure is going to be computed by my app coming from that monitoring device, whatever it is, talking to HealthKit. I still, me as a physician driving my company, want to guide my app users that they have to use FDA approved, clinically validated device, and all your device, Qardios and so forth are indeed clinically validated, FDA approved. And so you have solid data which the physician can trust, and then as well as the patient can rely on to take action. So those, again, are powerful, meaningful changes. We are not where we were 5 years ago.
I think that is a crucial point. I think you were mentioning before the FDA approval. I think the ability to provide the platform with data that come from devices that the doctors can trust is absolutely crucial.
We are running out of time, so I think we need to wrap up here. But thank you very much, and hopefully if you guys have any questions for these three wonderful entrepreneurs on stage, please find them in the audience. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Missy. Fantastic.